Hi, in this video, I will show you how to use Google OAuth to authenticate users. This is a common practice in most applications and websites where users have the option to sign in with their email or password, or they can select Google, Facebook, Twitter, and so on. For this video, I will do only Google OAuth. So what normally happens is users click login with Google, and then they select their Google account, and then that would sign them in. Step 1. We need to set up the Google credentials. This allows Google Auth server to identify the application. And to do that, we need to go to the developer console website where you can create a new project and create the credentials needed in order for you to be able to set up OAuth properly. Click on the top left drop down, new project, give your project name. Let's make this Google OAuth tutorial. Then if you have multiple projects, then you have to select the one you just created. Here, first thing we'll do is to create an API key. To create the API key, click Credentials, create credentials, then select API key. This will generate your API key, which we'll use later on in the app. And then OAuth client ID. This will take us through the consent screen setup. So consent screen is a pop-up you get when you click on sign in with Google. Then click configure consent screen. User types. There's internal and external. Internal is for, let's say you have your company G Suite account and you want this to only be accessible to people with that company account. External is accessible to anyone and everyone. So let's select external and then create. Then you'll need to set up your consent screen details. This is an example of what is what. So just enter the app name, support email. For the purpose of this app, I'm just gonna enter only the required information. Then save and continue. The next step is to set up the scopes. For a list of all the scopes available, you can go, I will leave this link in the description. This is where you can see all the available scopes and descriptions of what they do. And then for this app, I need the OAuth API scope. So we have two here. The email, which just views your email address, or user info.profile, which gives you the personal information. What I'll do is, coming back to the console, click on add or remove scope, then select the first one and user info profile. Click update. Now, as you can see, we have our scopes here. Just gives you, it's a review of everything you created, and you can edit if need be, but let's go back to the dashboard. So now click on credentials on the left menu, then wait, what? Where is not creating the, okay, sure, I didn't create that. Let's create it again. Oh, okay. So you set up your consent screen. Let me go back once. So you set up your consent screen, and then now you have to choose which type of OAuth do you want, because there's different platforms. There's web, Android, Chrome app, and so on. So for this one, it's the web application. Give OAuth ID a name. But I cannot type. The next step is to set up a list of domains that are going to be used by your app. So because I'm testing locally, I'm just going to add localhost here. http:// and I'm on port 8080. You can add multiple domains if need be, but for now I'm just going to leave it to localhost 8080. Okay, so now our client ID is created. You can copy it now or copy it later, but both the API key and the client ID we will use when we set up the config. And that's pretty much it for this part of the setup. The app is simple. There's two pages, the login screen and the page we direct to after login, which is the profile page. So this is my login screen here. We need to add the Google Client JavaScript library. Go to public index.html. This I already added here. You can find this in the documentation. I will leave the links below. You simply just add this. Then in login.vue, this is where we will add our API keys and client ID. I already have the code here, so I'll just go ahead and copy them over. The API key, let's do that first. You copy and replace this placeholder I have here with the API key. No, that is not the API key. This. And then we do the OAuth client ID. Copy. Also, we have our discovery docs, which is Google OAuth 2 version 2. And then we have the scope, which is the user info profile. By adding Google Client API in index.html, this then gives us access to the Google API object, which we assign to GAPI. We need to set up the authentication. To do that, we first load Google API Auth 2. We initiate Google Client by passing the API key, client ID, discovery docs, and scope we created above. On success, this will return an instance of Auth. Then you can use that to check if the person is signed in or not signed in. If the person is signed in, you can get the user object. This will give you things like email, username, and so on. If the person is not signed in, then we'll need to sign in the user. This will prompt the pop-up to allow the user to sign in on their Google account. And then when that is successful, we get the user object and assign it to Google user profile. There's login API call and login API call here, which I'm passing the user object to. This is the method that I use to get the user object from Google and then pass it to my local API. API will handle it internally and we use that information however we choose. And that's pretty much it. I already have my app running. So we click on login with Google. Now, because I'm already logged in, I don't have to put in my Google login credentials. So let's give it permission. And there you have it. We are logged in. And this is the object we get. I will pass this object to my internal API using this method. Next up, I have to check if it will work when I'm not logged into Google already. To do that, I have to log out of my Google and clear my browsing session and see if it will come to this, to the second part of the if statement. Let's clear that out. Okay, I know it's working because it paused my browser session. Google session. So now let's go back to console and reload the app. Let's try signing in with Google again. If you notice here, it says I'm signed out. Now if I select this account, it will ask me to put in my password again. And there you go, signed in. And now it's not logged in, which is this part of the code block. And my information is available. So yeah, and that's how you create Google OAuth in Ionic Vue. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment below, and yeah, all that good stuff.